Hey guys, it's another week of For Your Reference, and we're starting off with your phrase of mine. And I must tell you, I'm feeling quite good about myself because I finally won last week, and I have got the phrase this week for OT. Are you ready?
Ready as a yep. Bring it.
All right. Take the glit off the gingerbread.
Take the glit.
GLIT.
Oh, okay.
Oh my. If it's a female gingerbread.
I think it would mean that remove blemishes from oneself.
Incorrect. It's actually the opposite. So you remove an item's most attractive qualities, not the blemishes.
Ah, yeah. Oh, okay.
Well, I guess I get to choose next week's episode. So let's get on with the show, guys. Hey, friends and lovers. Welcome back to For Your Reference. Hopefully you enjoyed that your phrase or mine. I know OT definitely did.
Yeah.
And hot doggy, have we got a show for you today? And I hope I didn't offend anyone.
I'm offended.
But you're not the demographic that I was hoping we didn't offend.
What kind of demographic are you targeting with
Okay,
that?
stoltily. We are covering Deadwood today. And wow, we will get into it, but we did the John Wick episode 2 weeks ago. And that's as much time that we needed to binge Deadwood for myself, first of all, and you for the second time round before this Deadwood movie came out. So I would say this is probably the most transformative change I've ever had in my life. Wow. Just wow. And, it's tantalizing. Stick with us, guys. Grab a nice glass of wine, a nice bottle. If you'll pardon the grape, get yourself a snack because we are hot diggity dogging.
You need to stop.
I can't help it. I'm so excited. So, Deadwood, iconic series that has been around between the years of 2004 to 2006 from the mind grapes of David Milch. He has created, he's co-wrote on quite a lot of shows, and Deadwood is delicioso. Coming out of the home box office, otherwise known as HBO. Hot little tidbit, David Milch, when he was pitching this to HBO, he actually wanted to set this within ancient Rome. But HBO was already developing Rome at the time. So upon their advice, he switched it to a country western, and it's a Deadwood that we all know and love today.
So crazy to think that the way Rome is written and the way Deadwood is, he really did pivot it to suit the kind of show that they wanted in a western, and it just delivered on so many levels.
But I think also at the same time, if you have your cojones in writing, you can pretty much drive the vehicle through any time frame, through any space and any sort of narrative, which is total credit to David Milch. And I don't know if you guys know, but we live in Deadwood, and Deadwood is situated in the Spoiler Canyon. So come and join us with all our frivolity and all our salaciousness, but just be aware we're definitely going to spoil things. And this tidbit has to do with the movie. I was reading some facts, and I'm pretty sure it's from IMDb. It's kind of our foundational repository of knowledge. And it said that David Milch actually developed Alzheimer's in 2015, which was before he started writing for the Deadwood movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I guess it's fascinating, the limitations that, sometimes mentally we put on ourselves aren't limitations for other people, which we'll see with Jules' character. Fucking amazing, right? But let's go through it. So David Milch, super amazing. Let's go through the cast, and wow, what an expansive cast, and there's so much dimension in all of these characters. You know, a lot of the time, especially with henchmen, you know, they're kind of, if they're lucky, have one dimension to them. And that's
So
all there
true.
is.
Yeah.
But Deadwood really fleshes out and gives a backstory, even without knowing what the backstory is for these henchmen. In this example, you still know that there's an ethos that they live by. There's a code that they operate by, which is super fascinating. So I say that to say, have patience with us. I am going to read off the HBO site for the cast and crew. And because there's so many, I'm just going to read the first 2 rows. But we're definitely going to try and cover as many characters in today's episode as much as possible. So we have the ever eternal, universal.
Eternal.
Don't make me sing Eternal Flame, because I will.
Oh, dear.
I will turn this eternal ship around. Don't you worry. Ian McShane. Is he knighted? Oh my God, let's not Google it, because if Ian McShane is not knighted, I will fight a bitch.
He's not knighted. Why would
Are
he
you
be
kidding?
knighted?
Okay, don't you dare Google it, because I will burn this shit to the ground. I will set that horse off to trample all the children. Don't you? No, don't. My heart breaks. Okay, so let's try and get through this before I have my own breakdown. We have Sir. I'm going to call him Sir. Come for me, Queen Elizabeth. I'm waiting. We have Sir Ian McShane playing Al Swearingen, or as our friend Wu likes to say, Swedgen. So I'll either call him Al or Swedgen in this episode out of solidarity. We have, for some reason, Tim Oliphant. Do people say Tim? Timothy Oliphant.
Oh,
He's a grown man.
beg your pardon. What? Did you send him a message? Are you just from texting him?
I'm too familiar, aren't I?
Tim Elephant. Oh, wow.
I call him Timo.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Well, his name isn't in the cast setting, but we know it's him, and he plays Seth Bullock. We also have Molly Parker, whose face was constructed for this show. I don't mean that in a plastic surgery way. I just mean her face suits the show. Settle down,
The
people.
period, rather.
Yes, and her period.
All right.
Imagine having your period back in this time. No, thank you, Satan. I will create a time machine to go to the future where pads were created. What do we... or tampons, if you'll pardon the cotton. Molly Parker is where we were, played by Alma Garrett. Oh, sorry, Alma Garrett is the character, and then later on she becomes Alma Ellsworth. We also have John Hawkes playing Soul Star. Fun tidbit, David Milch, the creator, is Jewish. So even though there are some terrible things said about Jewish people, I guess it's not out of a genuine place of hate, I would assume.
Even if it was, I don't think it would come out of place of hate. It's more of the period and the time and the perception of...
You know what? You really picked up on something very, very pivotal. And
I always do, yeah. Tell me.
Do you want to do a tally? One day our podcast will get big enough where people will start constructing like tallies and counts and drinking games of us. But in the meantime, just know I'm the reigning champion of all things, okay? Let's go. But I just want to pick up on something very rare, but something very pivotal that you just said. I think it needs to be said that you need to be mindful of the period piece and the contemporary language that happens in a TV show or also in a movie. Like, it's not really historically accurate, but, you know, if you talk about Game of Thrones or if you talk about anything of that ilk, or Spartacus or Rome, you know, people get up in arms about, you know, rape scenes or even, you know, slave movies, 12 Years a Slave, Roots.
Yeah. It's called
Kunta
Roots.
Kinte.
Yeah.
Yes. People
Thanks
get
for looking
really...
at me when you're thinking about that.
Oh, come on now. Who am I going to look at? Our dog? He's not going to help us. Wow, really?
Just say it.
See, you see what you did? You see what you did? What OT giveth, OT taketh. Let me finish this thought off because we're actually covering Deadwood today, not your unraveling, okay? So my point, which was your point, but you took it away, is that, sometimes people can get up in arms about, the racist language or, the oppressive sort of undertones or, overt tones of a movie and of a TV show. And I think sometimes people just need to understand that obviously it's not a 2019 production, and you kind of just need to appreciate it for what it is. Do you know what I'm saying?
I hear you.
So even a lot of, there was quite a lot of sensitive sort of nature that was going on with Stoltler. I can't say his name. There was a lot of themes, and I definitely want to talk about that. But, the use of the N-word in Deadwood, I don't think it was gratuitous, but because I know some people might be put off with that. Not just the general cocksucker and motherfucks in the show, but the actual treatment of other people. And I just want to make it clear that, you kind of need to take things with a grain of salt when it comes to these things. Another example that I will give is Agatha Christie. And Then There Were None. One of our favorite stories from Agatha Christie, right? But its origins are less than wholesome.
True.
And if you want to look it up, then you can look it up. But we're not going to cover that today. But it's definitely something good that you said that I just wanted to pick up off on, because you can appreciate something but not wholly endorse what it is. It's a bit different than, Quentin Tarantino just throwing around the N-word just because he wants to, right? Just jumping on the chance. And I do love myself Quentin Tarantino, but we all know he kind of sniffs his own ass quite a lot. So let's go back to the cast. I'll just go through the second row in the cast. We've got Paula Malcolmson playing Trixie. Super solid.
Yeah, super solid.
Super solid.
If you watch Ray Donovan, you even love her more.
Well, I love her now.
Cool.
You want to fight?
You can continue reading off the cast members.
Oh, good on you. We also have Robin Wiegert, who plays Calamity Jane. She had her ups and downs, more downs, but we'll get to that. We also have Powers Booth. Rest in peace, Powers.
Fun fact. Sorry, not fun fact, but it's just a fact. He's buried in a town in Deadwood.
No way.
Yeah.
Oh, bless. And what a beautiful name, Powers Booth.
Really beautiful name.
Playing not so great of a character, Cy Tolliver. I'm just so excited. I'm always excited about our podcast episodes, but wow, I'm very excited to talk about these characters today.
Oh, cool.
Oh my God. And then the last person in the first 8 of the cast is Kim Dickens, played by Joni Stubbs. And according to her, she actually took quite a few of her hats home, including her iconic buckle hat.
Oh, great. I would take everything.
Right?
Yeah.
Why not?
Why leave it there?
Yeah, take a horse.
Yeah, you don't know. 10, 20 years, you could sell it for way more.
Before we go through first impressions, because we did talk about the horse, I just want to mention something because I've been listening to interviews in the lead up to the Deadwood movie. And apparently David Milch and the writers, they were having issues with either the child that played Bullock's son or the parents of the child. Probably the parents, but it was either one or the other. And David Milch went up to Timothy Oliphant and he was like, "We're killing the kid. The kid needs to die. You're going to do well out of this, but the kid needs to die." And then that's how they formulated him dying by the horse.
Really?
Yeah, so I don't know if it was written in the stars that the kid was going to die, but just with complications, that's why he ended up dying.
Far out.
Right?
At least it acted as a vehicle to drive Bullock and the wife closer. Because I don't see how that would have happened. Well, I guess they started getting closer to closer with the kid. but it just acted as a vehicle to make them appreciate each other more.
And
And to make sure that Bullock doesn't leave her for Alma.
yeah. And I am going to break form for a second. Before we do the first impressions, I do want to mention this because we have so many talented and beautiful, inspired cast that I don't think we're going to be able to get back to this. So I just want to quickly mention, you had qualms, sir, with the child's... Well, not the child's death. We love children. We love children, guys. The fact that everyone in Deadwood was at a standstill, and how important it was, the death of the child. It seems like you had much qualm. Many qualms?
Not qualms, just worried. In a lawless town where people get killed every other day, apparently a kid dies and the whole community stops. The whole community cries.
That didn't even know.
Come on, that just didn't make sense to me.
Yeah, it was an interesting one. I do understand how an innocent child being trampled by a horse would cause sadness and a moment of self-reflection. But I also don't see at the same time how everything just stopped. So I do agree to an extent for you. Let's dive into first impression. So again, this was the first time I've watched Deadwood, and it's the second time that you've watched it. Do you want to go? Do you want me to go?
Oh, you go. Tell me what you thought.
Oh, you're letting a lady finish.
Always a gentleman?
Always a gentleman. Just doesn't like kids. That's your tagline for today. Okay, so yes, this is the first time that I've watched Deadwood. It was always in my periphery. I always knew Deadwood was there, and it's always on lists of the best shows ever, or at least shows that you should watch before you die. I don't know how big it was in Australia personally. Culturally, I don't think it was big in my circles.
Nothing was big in your circles, mate.
Yeah, Jonah from Tonga. Yeah.
Oh, dear. It wasn't big in my circles.
Hey, man.
Sorry, you all right?
Do you not like the hue of my circle?
Oh, yeah.
They're quite shapely, though.
Oh, shapely.
Oh, my. Let's continue before this takes a tangent where we're not supposed to go. Yeah, so I never really watched it, but it was one of those things where like, yeah, I'll get round to it and I'll watch it. And thanks to you guys and this podcast, we do try and align things to, relevant sort of conversations. And the Deadwood movie recently came out, which we also have watched, so we will talk about that today as well, if you need more reason to continue listening. But in a nutshell, I think Deadwood is one of the best shows I have ever consumed and am eager to consume again in the near future. However, it is not without its flaws. And OT will defy me, even on his deathbed, which, if you keep saying Ian McShane is not a sir, maybe soon. So just watch out. But yes, I do think that Deadwood started off very, very, very slow. It wasn't until the 5th or the 6th episode of the first season that things actually started to pay off
5th
for
or
me.
6th?
So I will fight you in these streets. I will fight you in these streets.
Might as well go watch Dora the Explorer, mate.
Wow. The dub version or the sub version?
Oh, is there some version for this?
I have no idea.
Oh well.
See what you did?
Maybe there's Dora the Tongan Explorer.
I'm gonna let you sit in this. You took us here. Now you need to take us out.
Continue?
Hey, I am the captain now, eh? This is what happens. Let me drive, sir. Okay. Yes, so Deadwood starts off very slow. You don't really get much payoff until the 5th or 6th episode, or not even payoff, just like, thank you for watching. This is why you're still watching, right? And you're already trying to fight me. But the writing is so good that even in the first episode and the next few to continue, even though it isn't rewarding, you can still start to see the mechanisms being set up for a great show. And for that reason alone, you need to stick with it. But wow, the payoff is exemplary. There are some lows that happen in like mid-season 2 and 3 that become a bit onerous, but the highs outweigh that in every single sense.
Well, I had a different view from you because I remember the first time I was watching this and I fell in love with the show after the first episode. I could just see in my mind everything that they were planning to do, from the interactions with each other. I knew that Seth Bullock was going to be this great protagonist. This is
Still
mind
waiting.
you, this was the first
I'm
time
still
we were
waiting
watching
for that
it.
to happen.
And the second time, because I don't know how I remembered it, but I really thought that Seth Bullock played a bigger role in this. And then watching it the second time, I realized that it was all about Al and what he had founded in Deadwood and what he was trying to achieve and everything that spawned off that, vis-a-vis trying to get Deadwood annexed, trying to get some sort of freedom to carry out how they operate in the town. And it was just so amazing because I think I just remembered it wonkily, and that's on me.
We'll talk more about Seth Bullock and Timothy Oliphant in a second, but I do want to touch on what you just said, because this shows how different we are in our viewership, right? We both agree that the show was being set up in the first few episodes. We both agree on that, right? And on the setup alone, you give it accolades. I don't give it accolades until I see the payoff of the setup.
Or can you not appreciate what's being done? Laying the groundwork for the story. Surely in your mind, you could see where the story would possibly go, and in that give you that excitement of wanting to watch further to see how it develops.
But that's like saying you've laid the foundation for a house and the house isn't done yet. You can't praise that.
Mate, once you've laid down the foundation of the house is pretty much done. That's the hardest thing to do. Join me on OT's Architectural 101.
Okay, if OT is messaging you to build your houses, just block him. And this is why you're not allowed on the Twitter, okay? Because I don't want you soliciting dodgy housing developments to our listeners.
It's where I'm from. It's part of my culture.
If you guys have watched the rest of Development, there's a whole dodgy housing development for the Bluth family. I think you got OT Bluth. Wow, really? You know what? I must applaud your conviction, because you know you're dead ass wrong, but you still stand by your guns. So good for you. Good luck living in your foundation with no house. Anything else about your first impressions? I feel like anything you say is void now.
It's not void.
I can't breathe. Help. Okay.
All I'm
can't
saying
even look at you.
is,
Sorry.
all I'm saying is, it's very vital to have a strong foundation, and that's why all the hymns that reference housing,
hang on.
We have a strong foundation. So it's
Was that a rejected David Guetta song? What was that?
I'm trying to modernize the hymn.
Let's. I don't know where you're going. I don't know where your train has left for the station, but I don't want to follow you. There was a hymn that was referenced, "How Firm a Foundation," and because
there you go. I didn't even remember that, but see, you're pretty much making my point. Thank you.
get your point. Okay, fine. I am going to circle around you, sir, and I'm going to shut it down. Are you ready? You don't understand that in some essences we're saying the same thing. You definitely need to have a strong foundation. Otherwise you have Gintama where there's no substance. That's an anime. Hang on. You need to have a good foundation because even once you set it up and there's a payoff, it's not going to hold ground because there's no foundation, right? Mm-hmm. So we both agree there needs to be a strong foundation. But you're not acknowledging something needs to happen after the foundation. You can't just call it a day and go for lunch for 2 days. You need to. Let's stop.
And it does. And Deadwood just does this so amazingly because you can see how it happens.
Yes, I agree. I agree.
Cool. Straight off the bat, we're introduced to Seth Bullock. And what do you think he does? His first scene, we see how his interaction and it creates his whole demeanor throughout the show. And you know the kind of person he is, you know? Anyway, let's just continue.
Wait, so you're saying Seth Bullock is a good character because he builds a house?
I did not say that. I don't know where you derived that from, but I did not say that.
Play the tape back, my friend. I feel like young kids don't even know what tape means, right?
Oh, yeah.
Man, we're old. We're mature, like this vintage wine. I don't know where you're going with your house, but good luck. If anybody is concerned about the For Your Reference household, OT didn't build it, so we're okay. If it's raining, we'll be fine. Don't worry about that. Let's continue. Anything dangerous? Anything else about your first impressions before we actually dive into the show?
No, I think that's enough. I think we can now just dive into the show and discuss what we...
So we're going to leave the houses alone now?
Yep.
Okay.
All done with the housing.
Okay. I just wanted to touch on How Firm a Foundation, which is a hymn. And in your Catholic upbringing and my Mormon upbringing, sometimes there's an overlap in the Christian sort of experience. And I was like, oh yeah, How Firm a Foundation. And you didn't know what that was, right?
No.
Yeah. So I think it's because this was around the time that the Mormon Church was founded in the 1800s. So a lot of the sort of hymns and prayers are influenced by that pioneering sort of America. But we don't have time for that today because I'm pretty sure we're well into our podcast time mark. So let's continue. But yeah, that's, these are some fun little ways of the world. And, if we ever can bring it up naturally, ask us about Cain and Abel in the Bible. And my Mormon understanding of that. But we're not going to get into that today. Let's talk about the amazing Sir Ian McShane. Swedgen.
He is essentially the protagonist of the show.
No, literally.
Essentially the protagonist of the show, I said.
You did, and you also regret.
Because I feel like an argument can be made as to why Seth Bullock could... Nah, no.
Let's do
myself.
Swedgen.
All right. So, Albert Swedgen is such a solid character. At the start, I don't think I really warmed up to him, and this is the first time watching the show, and I couldn't understand why they were focusing so much on him.
Yeah.
And I didn't really take to him.
And I think that's quite a key call out because at the start of the series, as the series continues, there's quite a lot of villains. But when the series first starts, Swedgen is kind of set up to appear to be the villain, the bully, the bad guy, right? And I think that's quite a pivotal sort of call out as well because, not everything is textbook. It's not cut and dry. No one is 100% good. No one is 100% evil. And that's why in your day-to-day life, you can have toxic people surrounding you. And because they do it with a smile and because they're very manipulative, you don't realize that they're actually talking shit behind your back. without you knowing. And I think that's part of the interesting sort of dynamic that we have as humans and we have with each other. And something very key about Al's character is, you know, we talk a lot about the relatable villain, but let's also consider the damaged hero. How about that? How'd you like them apples? And what I mean by that is, you know, Al has gone through a lot. And as the show continues, you start to see the sort of upbringing that he had in some sort of, he was essentially an orphan, right? And then as this show continues, we start to hear stories about his mum being casted away, which was very sad. And she tried to leave and she couldn't. And even before we started to get any sort of inklings about Al's life, Ian McShane really brings so much dimension to this role that he might be saying something that seems so straightforward, but you can see the layers of his experience as an actor really trying to draw you in to his character. And if you didn't feel that yourself, which is what you're saying, you start to see it in the interactions around Dan, around Jewel. You know, he says some really harsh things, right? But he will always go and bat for them at the end of the day.
Yeah, because with his interaction with Jill, it came off really cringy, and you would feel as if, why the fuck would he talk like that to her, you know? And then there's something interesting that Trixie said. I think Trixie was talking to Dan and saying how, why do you think Joel is here in the first place? So that no one would mess with her, so that no one can hurt her.
Yeah.
She could always have a safe home with Al, and this is Al's way of showing love.
But I think it's also good that he doesn't treat her differently.
Exactly. He's
an ass to everyone.
Yeah. And that's just, and the banter between Al and Joel is so so nice.
It is. And I think Joel was going upstairs or downstairs, and I think it's near the end of season 3. And Al, with his classic one-liners, is like, every step is a fucking adventure. And if you listen to our Game of Thrones episode or even our Money Heist episode, we talk about, you know, when you have these leaders that, you know, have these malicious, you know, inhumane sort of orders, right? And in Game of Thrones, I talked about how there were problematic leaders that didn't really execute their own malicious orders, right? And I don't think you really understood what I meant. And let's compare this to Al, right? He orders hits left and right. One of his buddies that comes back to the camp is like, what have you been up to? Al's like, slitting throats. It's literally what he's been doing, right? But in almost every instance, I counted at least 3 times, he was actually scrubbing the blood off the floor as well. He actually stopped Jewel once and he just did it. And he was berating her and saying, you're not even doing it properly. But I believe in that way, he was actually trying to do it himself. And something we'll talk about Tolliver in a second, but just to give some light and shade, Tolliver was a terrible man.
Top to bottom.
But he had a voice like honey.
Top to bottom.
That's its own thing. But yeah, so, you know, Tolliver was a terrible person. And you never really understood where because you could see that he got off on all of it. But how particularly? He was just evil. He had these shark eyes. He had a voice of honey, but he had shark eyes. And it's like, is there any redeeming quality of him? And I think once they added that contrast of having Tolliver in the camp, it showed that as passionate as Al is, he can be reasoned with. Because there were so many times where he was talking to Doc Cochran or he was talking to Wu, and he could actually be reasoned with. If you came to Al and you just laid yourself bare, he would actually be there for you.
I don't know about being there for you, but he'd definitely give you his ear. Like, he'd listen. Whether or not he'll take action and help you is...
He helped so many people.
Not so many
He was
people.
like the Mac Daddy of Deadwood. I'm this close from changing this podcast. How
He
does your dick swedgen?
Swejan wasn't without his
Vices, his
vices.
demons.
Yeah.
Yes.
So he wasn't perfect. He wasn't this hero that just rescued everyone. He had his flaws, and with it, at least you know where you stood with Al. When it comes to Sai, oh my,
He was terrible.
he was terrible.
Like, I don't think there was anything redeeming about him because you didn't really know what he actually cared about. And he
Yeah.
became a punk ass bitch when Hearst came along. He was such a big man puffing his chest, and then when Hearst comes along, he's like a little kitty.
Yeah, and you know one of the few things that I didn't understand is how, because it was just so left field, because Sai was all about himself being in power and having all that
He
authority.
was the big dog.
I
yeah.
am the big dog, and I will take no one else.
Mm-hmm.
And then for Hearst to come along, I understand trying to maneuver your way into his graces, but to so much sacrifice or to cede so much power to Hearst.
But remember, he was when they were Aaron Sorkin walking and talking. He was like, "Oh, I did this, 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 and this for you, dude. If you're talking to your superior and you have to explain what you've done, that's like you've already lost, really.
Yeah, true.
If you have to prove your value, mate, there's no chance. Just pack up and go home."
Yeah, and so what did you think about Seth?
Do I think about Seth?
Oh, you think about Seth all the time.
Does he
Remove the
ever
poster of
cross
Timothy
my
Oliphant off your
mind?
bedpost fast.
I think I use my bedpost more than I use the poster.
Whatever the hell that means.
It's got a phallic structure. Get it together.
Oh, far out. I wanted it to leave it like that. I mean, children listening to this podcast.
Well, you just talked about trampling all the kids. You're like the opposite of Pied Piper. Maybe that's a good thing. No one wants to be a Pied Piper. Look it up. Read a book, guys. I'm going to say it. I already tested it on Twitter and I haven't burned into flames. And to be perfectly honest, I have a lot of hot takes. So if I haven't scared you away yet, I don't think this is going to sink the ship. I don't think Timothy Oliphant is a great actor.
Explain.
And you know what? Maybe maybe there aren't any camps that are ardently, proclaiming that he is the best actor in the world. I don't know. I don't know if people are that passionate about Timothy Oliphant, but I always had the impression that he was a solid, stellar actor. The only semblances I had of him was in The Office and also in the Mindy Project. And I was like, Stephen Yeun. Like, I never really watched a lot of things that Stephen Yeun was in, but I was like, he's good value. I feel like he's a great guy. Just like Ben Affleck is a great guy. So same thing with Timothy Oliphant. So this is the first major role that I've seen Mr. Oliphant in, and I was not blown away. I was not even blown. I was nothing. And you keep telling me it was the character of Seth Bullock, but he had two facial expressions. If you were to go into any dictionary, maybe even Urban Dictionary, and you looked for the word repugnant, you would see that face of Seth Bullock. And if you've watched even like 2 seconds of Deadwood, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So you have his repugnant face. And the other one he has is fuck me eyes. He doesn't know any other tone than that. It's either repugnant or fuck me eyes. So it might get very confusing with some pleasure and pain, but there you go. Seth Bullock's character was full on rage mode. If anyone plays God of War, I did make a comment while we were watching Deadwood that I don't even want Spartan mode. I just want Seth Bullock mode. Because fucking hell, man, he just went and he kept going. It's like, dude, calm down. And he just kept going. He kept throwing down. Bullock's character was pivotal. It was important to have in the camp, but I don't necessarily think that Seth brought anything to the role to make it anything more magnificent. an audible gasp from one person in the world.
Fun Theo.
No, he doesn't care. He doesn't care. But yes, we're going to run out of time, so feel free to give a rebuttal and defend your Seth Bullock. But I don't think he was that great.
You can only do so much with the character you're given. And Timothy delivers on Seth Bullock. Seth Bullock isn't the kind of guy who's going to bust into song. He's not your EB, you know?
I disagree because Ian McShane brought so much to that role.
Because Al had so many layers to him. So does Seth. In terms of he's honorable. He does it's right and what's mandated. He took over his brother's wife and kid after the brother died.
That was normal for the time.
No one else would do that.
Isn't that like common practice from...
It's common practice. Not everyone did it. It's not like you're mandated to do it.
You kind of have to.
You don't have to do it. What society requires you to take over?
If we're talking about 1800s in Kenya, would you have to follow that? Yes, you would.
I wouldn't have to follow it. I can opt to take the seat. My brother's wife.
Yeah.
But I'm not required to do it.
Yes, you are. Because
I'm not required to do it.
Because it's not based in love. It's based on the fact that there's livelihood.
Then again, we're not talking about African societies here. We're talking
I'm trying to relate it to your circle. Remember? And that, my friend, is what you call a callback. We're referencing something we said earlier. But... You're acting as if people have free agency and they can do things based on love. No, sir. There are obligations and there are traditions, and I can't believe I have to explain that to you. So Seth Bullock was obliged, and he had to do that. Let's move on. Okay, right. I do agree that Seth Bullock was very important to the show, and his dynamic with Al was exemplary, and I loved seeing it. And it was made quite clear that the both of them couldn't be in the same room together for more than 5 minutes. Just because they were so similar and so different. So let's continue. You choose. Who do you want to talk about next?
We can talk about Alma.
Oh,
don't sound too excited.
Again, this is why I lead the conversation, because you bring this up. How is this exciting? Okay, you go then. You go.
So Molly Parker, we love her. You know, Alma Garrett is a misunderstood character because there's a lot of hate for her character out there.
Oh, really?
Which I think is not correct.
I think it's warranted.
It's not warranted at all. She does what's best for her. And, you know, the moment in Deadwood, in that period of time, women weren't really regarded in that, you know, high esteem to be able to run and do things. And we have Alma taking control of the gold mine and hiring Ellsworth to do it. You know, she did so much that the hate that she gets for being a lousy mother to Sophia, or it's a vices, you know. She was a druggie even before that, but she fought back and got herself out of drug use.
She meant a lot to the show because she literally served as a plot device. Every time the story needed to move along, it was all about her. Her husband squandered their fortune. Her husband dies. She gets with Bullock. She has an affair, a tryst, as they like to call it. She has a baby by baby daddy Bullock.
She gets pregnant. She doesn't have a baby.
Oh, sorry. And then unfortunately she has a miscarriage, right? She marries Ellsworth. Like, everything that she does is pivotal to the show because she literally serves as the plot device. And I'm not about that life.
Same with EB.
Do you see how she left? She didn't stay in Deadwood in that 10-year gap between series 3 and the movie. That town thrived while she was gone.
Because of a bank. Because of what she had laid, because of the foundation she had laid in the...
I'm going to blacklist that word.
No.
That's how you know you're talking shit, because you start using the F word. Never again, cocksucker.
She had laid a strong foundation for Deadwood to prosper. The bank was massive in that. The bank was massive in establishing a strong economic status for Deadwood. And we later see when she does come back, Art actually goes and says, oh, your bank has been doing well.
And she also gets shot at as well. Like everything happens to her. She's the sandpit of plot device.
She's Bullock's weakness. She drives. The few times that we've seen Bullock really emotional, other than when his son dies, is when he has encounters with Alma.
Hang on a second. Can we just address in the movie when Alma ends up, well, she reads the room, literally, and she ends up buying over Hearst, the land, right? It's not Jim Beaver. Yeah, it is Jim Beaver. The land. And then in betwixt the hallway, Bullock mosey on in and gives her a hug. That was wrong.
Why was it wrong?
That was wrong.
Because she knew how important it was for that land not to fall into Hearst's hands.
That was wrong to my Martha, my Skylar. Let's move on. So from a weak woman to one of the strongest, and I would say if we're going to put the characters plus actors in tiers, TIERS, but they do give me literal tiers. Ian McShane will always be at the top. Bullock isn't even on the pyramid. We kicked him off. Trixie is solid.
It's solid, but she's stupid as.
She is stupid, and I didn't care for the movie. I thought that was completely out of character. It was just a way to move the story along.
She does stupid things and doesn't think there are consequences to her actions. The first stupid thing she did was to shoot Hearst. The second stupid thing she did...
That happened near the end of the show. So you're negating all of the good things she did? Or all of the immense character development?
It wipes out everything she's done on the show. What did she think would happen? If you're going to shoot Hearst, make sure he's dead. You shoot him on his right shoulder. What the fuck is there to kill him?
Okay, can we focus? Are you saying there are no good moments with Trixie?
There are good moments. I'm just saying it really was... She loved Ellsworth. I get it. They were close. They were friends. And she'd gotten up to her head with what was happening between Hearst and Al and Seth. But man, to do that and not expect some sort of consequences, because we know how that panned out, didn't we?
That was in the heat of the moment. That's fine. What I didn't care for in regards to Trixie's character was in the movie where she decided to essentially reveal herself to Hearst, and Hearst made it quite abundantly clear. So essentially all of that effort that Al had to go through, and not Dan, what was the other?
Jimmy.
The pain that Jimmy had to go through, and the fact that Trixie was so...
Sorry, it's Johnny.
That's okay. Jimmy and Johnny?
Yeah.
I think they're interchangeable. Whatever, you know who we're talking about. The guy with the beard. Oh.
Everyone in the show.
Except for Bullock.
His stash.
Yeah, see, his foundation for his face wasn't good enough. Okay. Yes, I didn't care for that, because for me it was completely out of character, and because you got all your money's worth with Alma, you couldn't use her as a plot device, and that was the way to move it. And before we run out of time, and we do have some more characters, but we haven't actually talked about the movie. Yeah, right. So this is the way I see it, right? The end of season 3, the funniest thing was we watched the end of season 3 and it didn't register. Like, I was still calculating in my mind. I didn't realize that the show had finished. That was the last episode that people actually got without knowing that the show was going to come back. And I'm like, it wasn't like disappointing. It was kind of like lackluster, I guess is the way to describe it, because it doesn't really end. It kind of hints to you what's about to happen or what will happen, but nada, like nothing really happens.
But you know what it is for me though, the way it ended? I took it as, all right, Hearst has won.
Yeah.
Wild is crappy.
Yeah.
Bad people win all the time.
Yep.
And I was content.
And you know what? Copy and paste, because the movie did the same thing.
No, it didn't. It
I
gave
feel
people,
like-
it pandered to people's feelings and emotions.
No, it did. It did. But what I'm saying is Hearst was in jail, but I don't think he's going to stay there. What have we learned in years of being on this earth? If you've got money, you can get your way out of crime. Like, unless you've done really bad and you need to be made an example of, people with money and privilege get away with shit all the time. So, and even then, like, Hearst just being in jail isn't enough to end it. We waited. Oh, sorry, I feel bad. And again, I feel like I didn't earn the movie.
No, you did not.
I didn't earn the movie. I just finished 3, strolled on by, got my popcorn, got my wine, and then I started watching the movie. Like, I didn't earn it. But in any case, it feels like, what was the point of the movie aside from some nostalgia and feels, which we definitely got? It really ends, it fizzles, really.
It does fizzle. And they've had this time to think of how they would do the movie.
I do like that it was 10 years later, though. That was good. No one would have believed.
Because we're given an ending where we get some character dying, fine, which was sad and pulled at your heartstrings, but really didn't do anything story-wise or plot-wise that we've invested the 3 seasons in to just come up with airy-fairy sort of...
Did you think Al was going to die?
Of course Al died. That was the whole point.
He
finished with
didn't
him
die.
dying.
He didn't. Dude, he didn't die.
He was in his deathbed, pretty much.
No, but Jewel was it Jewel or Trixie? They were praying for him and he said, tell the Lord to go back to heaven or something. He didn't die.
And then they showed his finger twitch. The last shot was
What do you
his
think
finger
this is,
twitching.
Superman, where his hand comes from the coffin?
His last, like a twitch of, like the final action of his, like an involuntary.
I really don't think he died, but that's neither here nor there.
He did die.
I don't think he did.
All right.
Do you want to fight?
Oh, we can continue. He was
didn't
quite
die.
clear. I don't know why you'd think. What do you think the purpose of that scene was? Then the movie would be essentially worthless until
It was.
it
You know
was,
why?
but you can't take it.
Do you know why he didn't die? Because he's a celestial being.
Oh, far out. He made arrangements. He gave everything to Trixie. He made all these arrangements because he knew his time was up. In his deathbed, they say a prayer. He has a comeback. They pan into his hands. It twitches. He dies.
Soon to follow. Okay, I'm going to choose the next person because you keep derailing us. If you'll pardon the pun, because they get a train by the next one. Let's talk about Doc Cochran. He is one of my favorites as well.
Yeah, he is a favorite.
The Doc is another character that has so many layers to him. And we didn't get to credit the actor, so shout out to Brad Dourif. Wow. Because one of the things that I really love about the Doctor is he has this intrinsic need to help people and to look after people, even if he doesn't like them, even if their lack of morality disgusts him, he always needs to help people. So you'll see this switch in him where he gets like really pissed off at them, but he also helps them at the same time. And that just shows you the mark of a great person. And it was so sad to see when the Doc started getting sick.
Yeah.
Because it's like, who looks after him, right?
True. I didn't expect him to be in the movie 10 years on.
Yeah, and he looked a bit worse for wear, but we're not sure how much of that was makeup or not. But I'm glad he's doing okay, I hope.
Yeah, like he was coughing blood. He was really struggling towards the end of season 3, and I thought that maybe it was something terminal. But to see him survive, which is good, because that town without Doc would not
No way.
function
Well,
at
that's
all.
what I was wondering. In those 10 years, there really isn't another doctor or another apprentice.
They should have started training someone.
He's on his way
as soon
out.
as,
Yeah, exactly. But in the first season, when Swedgen was kind of seen as the sort of villain of the show, it was really nice, and it was really refreshing to see the doc stand up for, caring for people. That kid, Sophia. He didn't care. He wanted to protect her. He wanted to look after her, and he gave treatment to her. You know what I mean? And it was nice to see that humanity being exemplified through Doc's character.
Yeah, true. He does not suffer fools. He will tell you what he thinks, and he's just solid. He's one of the centerpiece of Deadwood. Without him, the town crumbles.
Oh yeah, in more ways than one. And let's talk about someone where the town probably will be absolutely fine. EB. Did you know I was going to say EB?
Yeah.
What do you reckon?
There's an EB everywhere. Like, he's slimy, sleazy. Self-interest is his priority.
But he's not very competent.
He is competent.
He's useful enough to get information, but he's not useful enough to be able to execute them himself.
The fact that 10 years on he's still mayor of Deadwood tells you all you need to know.
No, the fact that someone like EB is the mayor of Deadwood means they're just like, fine, just have it. We're still going to keep doing what we're doing, but you can be the mayor if it makes you feel better.
But he is you know what I'd put EB as?
What?
He is the politician. He is what stands as your current politician wherever you are. He is that kind of person. He plays the game better than most. If he was in House of Cards, Frank Underwood would not have a seat as president at all.
I don't watch that show. And
you don't watch anything.
With the recent cancel culture, I think I'm out of watching that show. I don't need to watch it now. Thank God. Thank God. I don't know. It's just like, I know we have American listeners and we stan. We love you guys. But man, I'm kind of had enough. I've had my fill of like American politics, or just like politics shows in general. Like there was a big surge of it, right? In the last 5 or so years. So like I've seen enough. I've seen enough of those shows. Even like legal procedural shows. Those are kind of grating on me as well. But anyway, let's continue. But yes, EB, lots of inflated speech, lots of empty gestures, lots of self-interest, like you said, but he doesn't really get anything done, really.
He gets things done, I think. He gets information for Al. He gets information for Hearst. Like, he's always there. He'll always be in the background, eavesdropping, trying to make... Even when Trixie went to shoot Hearst, he created a diversion. Like, people didn't know.
He's cute. Yeah, I know. He's cute.
So, in as much as he tried to take credit for the shooting...
Yeah, he did. As soon as he went into the gym, he was like, I did it.
I killed Hearst.
Oh, my goodness. But yeah, I think he gets validation from others and people just don't really give him the time of day.
But he's quick on his feet. He thinks really, even if it's to serve himself only, he does have value.
He does. He definitely does. So let's do a speed round, just because I know we're hitting past the sweet spot, but it's still sweet. Let's do a speed round. So we'll mention a character, and then each of us will talk about one scene or quote or something that we like about that character or don't like. We're allowed to not stand things sometimes. This is sad. We haven't even mentioned Soul Star. We've been circling him, but not really. Does that say enough?
He's Bullock's right-hand man.
He's efficient. He's efficient. You don't need to update your software. He's efficient. He gets work done. He he kind of gets offended when people say anti-Semitic stuff, but he also understands the world that he lives in, and he just carries on.
He calls Bullock on his bullshit. He gives Bullock advice. So he serves some sort of reason and purpose in the show.
Yeah, definitely. So you're not going to get much time, but we do appreciate your character. Calamity Jane.
Far out. There was a point in season 2, I was just done.
Over it.
Just remove this character from my screen. Bloody hell. She was insufferable.
I think someone needs to invent a mechanism where we might even have to pay for it. If you don't like a character, you can pay for it and it'll just block them out. Is that not
just get a meme of a cat or something. I don't know.
Yeah, Charlie Brooker, I'm calling you for the next season of Black Mirror. Just take them out of my show.
I think Black Mirror did an episode like that where you could erase people.
No, but that's real life people.
Yeah. Oh, we're talking about.
And then it becomes like static noise.
Yeah.
Yes, because I know about that because many times.
You wish to do that to a boy? Come on now.
Let's just leave it there. But Jane, man, she had so much potential, but there were more annoyances with her than payoffs with her. And I don't know if it was just because they liked Robin and they wanted to just keep her acting and eating in the show. But man, she got really annoying. It's like, you've said it so many times. Will, you and Will were never together. All of this feeling that you're feeling is fabricated in your mind. And there was a pivotal point that she was fighting with Ada. With Ada. And you were like, dude, like Ada's known Will way longer than Jane has.
Yeah.
Like, where the fuck did she get off?
Yeah.
And even in the movie where Joni essentially moves on, what did Jane expect?
She's so entitled.
Yeah.
Like, bloody hell. You've gone for 10 years, come back and expect Johnny to be, hands up fucking air to welcome you back?
Yeah.
Far out.
I think she liked to play victim a lot.
Yeah.
To be honest. But she did have her redeeming quality. She even helped Doc when they had to set up tents for people that got the flu. Before time goes away from us, do you want to talk about your favorite character, the priest?
Oh dear.
What was wrong with him? I don't understand.
I don't know. Every time he came on screen, I just felt my body just cringing and my muscles just tensing into, I couldn't stand it. It was just good that they took him off the show pretty quickly, and that's forgotten.
Yeah, I can't even see him in the cast list for HBO. So
Good.
sorry, I can't.
Good.
Wow.
HBO knew exactly what they did there.
They listened to your fan mail?
Yes, they did.
Listen, you don't need to have a movie. Just take his credit off the website. We don't need to see it. We've kind of talked about Cy Tolliver, but he was quite a pivotal character. So is there anything else you want to say about Tolliver?
He was pivotal until Hearst came, and then he just slowly faded into the background. And
yeah, because you don't really need him. He's not the villain anymore.
Yeah, his main storyline was just now him and Joni, and it was just.
I did like seeing Tolliver and Al team up though.
Yeah, it was good because that was when still Cy had his powers. But once Hearst came...
What is this, a Marvel movie?
Or still had his self-dignity. But once Hearst came, that went all the window and it just became noise. It just became background noise.
But I don't know. I think he was a great character. And something interesting, just a little tidbit about Powers, he actually auditioned for Al.
Oh, really?
And he didn't get it. So, and then he eventually got Tolliver. But I liked him. I liked his acting, but I don't know, man. Like Ian McShane, he's a celestial being. He's not even of this world. His acting is exemplary. Second to nobody. But yes, I did enjoy Powers, Cy Tolliver. Joni, I feel like we talked about her. But there's people we haven't even talked about. Do you want to say anything about Joni?
I didn't see her purpose in this show at all. What was Johnny's use in this show? Like, seriously. What was the point? Because I could take Joni out of the storyline and what?
Is it because she's a woman?
Not because she's a woman, just I didn't see a point to her. like she didn't connect with other members of the community apart from Calamity Jane. She was the only main thing was that she owned a building where kids would later come to land there, but then she sold it. Just
To be honest, I can't even answer your question. That's why I threw. Well, is it because she's a woman?
I know your tactics.
I'm sorry. You called my bluff. Charlie Utter and Will. We might as well put them together. Bill Hillcock. I keep calling him Will. Whatever. Get over it.
I was thinking Will from In Betweeners.
Feisty one you are. I think it's our first In Betweeners reference. Good on.
Yeah, he's like he's happy to be a follower, right?
Udders?
Yeah.
I don't think so. I think Udders has this beast inside of him, and for the most part, he tamed it. Because even Jane hinted to Udders and his life before Deadwood and how he was a fucking machine, essentially.
No, he flies like a moth to people with power.
Hang on a second. It came to, I think it was in the movie, and Joni saw that other side of Udders. And Jane's like, dude, I've been trying to tell you for years. There's something about Udders that is bestial and animalistic.
Yeah, I'm not saying that he doesn't have his strengths or whatever, but all I'm saying is he surrounds himself with people with power. He went with Wild Bill. He went to Seth Bullock, and he tried following Seth Bullock like a puppy dog. He's a good character though.
But he's his own man.
He's his own man to a point.
Don't remove his manhood.
I'm not.
Because he's got Udders.
He needs validation on what he needs validation way too much, I reckon.
That's EB's thing. Don't take that away from him.
No, him too.
Yeah, so I think that's enough about Udder. We've kind of talked about Farnham. Let's leave EB because we've got some others. Jim Beaver from Supernatural. And the fun thing about watching Deadwood after years of watching other things is the faces become so clear to me when I'm watching Deadwood. And I guess because you've already watched it before you've watched other things, I'm like, that's Beaver, and that's not his name on Supernatural, but his name is Jim Beaver. And I'm like, babe, that's Beaver from Supernatural. You're like, what are you talking about? But there you go. While we're here, Kristen Bell. You didn't even pick up that was Kristen Bell.
No, I didn't. Yeah.
Other guest stars we had Sarah Paulson. We fucking stan.
But her character was awful in this.
Yes. But I didn't know that. And you spoiled it for me because I'm like, oh, she's great. And you're like, no, she's not. And that's how I knew she wasn't going to be a good person. Okay, let's continue. Dan and Johnny.
Dan is amazing.
Oh, I love Dan.
He's the right-hand man you need.
And you've said that so misplaced so many times through this podcast. And if you guys have listened to any of our podcasts, OT says that all the time, especially if you've ever watched Money Heist or you've listened to our episode, the most useless. If you could imagine the most useless character in the world, OT said that the same thing about him. But yes, Dan.
No, I said you'd need someone like him to be in a...
No, you don't. Let's... Okay, let's not take time from this. Listen to our Money Heist episode. You can look at the extra cast for the Us movie in his red overalls and his scissors, Arturo. Let's go back. Dan is definitely your right hand man. You definitely want him in your camp.
Yeah, he's loyal. He loves Al.
Oh yes,
through and through. Like he seeks Al's validation as well.
Oh, yeah. Everyone does. There's like a daddy complex. They should call it Daddywood.
Oh. Wow. Don't even pretend that by mistake.
Oh, my God. And I did say earlier we should have a podcast. Let's call it Daddywood. Jesus. Oh, fucking hell. Even I have a line and I...
Oh, are you sure? You do have a line?
Believe it or not, there is a filter before I say things, and that seemed to slip out. Sorry. Don't look at me. Remember me different. Just keep going. I don't even remember what we were talking about. We're just talking about Daddywood. Oh my god.
So we have Dan. Anyway, he loves Al, and you can see that Al respects Dan so much. He gives him all the important roles, and if he doesn't go to Dan fast, then Dan gets jealous and angry, and
Because he's been so loyal
and they've been through so much
to
together
his
as well.
own identity as well. And it's not blind loyalty either, because he does wonder what Al's angle is, but he'll still follow it.
Yeah. His job is not to question.
And when he had that final showdown with that big giant man, I got emotional, I must say.
Yeah, that was really something. And the eye popping out. Oof.
Oh, no, it's just wow. Oh, ugh.
So Johnny is the lesser. He's not the intelligent one of the two.
Oh,
but he tries. He really tries. Remember when he was he deciphered Wu's message, and Al just smacked him.
Yeah. Because Al is top dog.
Yeah, what are you doing deciphering a message before me? Know your place.
But when his lady love, that was very sad. And you could see that Al was torn up about that as well. But
because it's the first time he's shown actual balls to stand up against Al.
But one of the biggest loves that Al has, and he's known it for the whole show, is Trixie. And we talk about problematic people, and to a lesser extent, most people don't have a great childhood. Al had a horrific childhood. So did Trixie. So in his frame of reference, if you'll pardon the reference, we can go back to Daddywood if you want. Oh my God, I started again. Okay. But Al loved as much as he could within the minute capacity that he had. Right? So it was a very hard situation. If afforded another opportunity, I don't think Al would have sacrificed Johnny's lady love.
Yeah.
But he had to. And I think everyone understood that, but it still had some pain to it.
True, agreed.
Who's next?
We can do Merrick and Blazanov.
I love Blazanov.
Yeah.
He's great.
Why do you think he's great?
Because he micromanaged. Listen to our Archer episode, guys. No, but I really liked him. I think he was very earnest in his... I don't think he was wholly trying to assimilate into Deadwood, but he started to have connections within Deadwood, and he really cherished them.
Yeah.
Because he could have ignored that, Tolliver telegram.
Yeah, you could see at the start when EB wanted to find out what telegram Blazanov was sending, he was like, nope, not showing you the sacred oath. I'm holding my things all secret and private.
Yeah.
But once he came to see how everything was being run under Hearst and how Hearst was evil, you could see that goes beyond your journalistic integrity to do actual good.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Just solid. Let's talk about Wu.
Whoa. Swajan.
Cocksucker.
Haidai.
San Francisco. Cocksucker. Cocksucker was said almost 300 times in the series.
How many times do they say fuck in this? 3,000?
Or variations of fuck. 2,900.
Wow. That's a lot of fucks.
Considering there's only like 30 episodes. More fucks than the brothels that were in there. Yeah. Jesus Christ. But I did appreciate Wu's character. I thought, very, very easily he could have become a caricature. But it might just be credit to Keon Young that played Mr. Wu. You could actually see the humanity in Mr. Wu's character, and you could see the lighter part of him and also the dark emotional moments that he had as well.
Yeah, especially when Lee was introduced in the
Oh
show.
yes.
Yeah.
But Wu and Al, I could watch hours of that dynamic till the end of time.
And before we even run out of time, do you want to address Walcott? So early in the show, they introduce this character who kills Wild Bill. He gets Bullock takes him to court over the killing, or takes him to
Should have
jail.
just killed him, but anyway.
And then he comes back in season 2 as a different character. I was like, come on now.
I thought that was some mystical, like, Easter egg, and it's all going to tie in. And these are all of the things that you missed. But it's literally because within the set of Deadwood, apparently there were a lot of rewrites that happened, and they would use the extras and they would reuse actors as well.
But he's been reused for pivotal roles. Like,
oh yeah, totally. And
you're taking an opportunity for someone who could have used that.
They might have just liked him, and he also appeared in the movie.
Yeah, he appeared in the movie as well
as someone in as a rabbler, rabble.
He must be best friends with this Milch person.
Must be a good cocksucker. Thank you. I redeemed myself. Oh man, I feel like we've got so many more people we need to get through. Martha, can I just say, I feel like people didn't like Skylar because they watched her in Deadwood first. Skylar from Breaking Bad, because Skylar is fine, and I think we've talked about Nani.
Skylar in Breaking Bad is fine.
Yeah.
Get out of here.
Hang on a second. We've talked about it in 2 other podcast episodes, so let's not talk about it here. If you want us to do a Breaking Bad episode, which we'll probably do eventually, let us know. But yes, Martha's character was very complicated. I think she played that role quite well. That's Anna Gunn. Pow pow. Don't let me outdoors. And going back to Walcott, his name sounds like it belonged in Deadwood. His actual name is Garrett Dillahunt.
They should just use that.
Right?
Yeah.
Who else? We've talked about Sarah Paulson, Hearst, Langrish. You want to talk about Jack Langrish, played by Brian Cox?
Al's old friend comes into town.
He was very flamboyant. I was kind of living
very
for
flamboyant. He doesn't know how to express his emotions or show his emotions, and you can see that his posse struggle with that. They think that he doesn't care when he actually does.
Which is weird because he's an actor and a performer, so he should be good at conveying his feelings.
Or maybe he's just good in when he's being a thespian, you know?
Perhaps.
Yeah.
Or not to be. One of my favorite quotes from the show, I can't remember who it was. Was it Al?
Oh, cocksucker?
No, I actually think it was Tolliver. I think it was Tolliver outside of that Christian man that owned that 2 cent a day motel or bed. And the quote was, because he was wandering around outside. It was Tolliver, wasn't it? It was nighttime and it was wandering around outside, and the owner of the inn, I'll just call it, was asking Tolliver what he was doing out there. And Tolliver says, "What is your claim to deity on my deference?" And then the owner of the inn just said, "Fuck off." Like, really? That's how you want to end it? Like, you really thought you got the upper hand there?
No, I don't think it was Tolliver, actually. I think that was Langrish that said that.
Oh, actually, yeah. Oh, one of my favorite moments. We haven't even talked about Richardson. Rest in peace, by the way.
Yeah.
Because the actor's passed away. I don't remember his name now, but he passed away. That's why he's not in the movie as well as Tolliver. But there was a moment where Langrish was talking to his actor troupe, and EB and Richardson were just staring at them, and they were being so dramatic. I don't even remember what they were talking about, but they were just being general performers, and they were being super dramatic. And Richardson goes to EB, "Have they started performing yet?" I love Richardson. He was so sweet. And his relationship with Aunt Lou.
Yeah.
And we haven't talked about Stoltler. Stoltler? The man that owned the livery. The horses.
Hosteller.
Yes. No?
Yeah,
Doesn't
Hosteller.
matter. Doesn't matter. Let's not end on this because it's sad, but I do want to talk about it because it is quite important.
He kills himself because he gets too much abuse and he can't handle it. Too much abuse, racist abuse, to a point where he thinks taking my whole life surely is easier than dealing with this crap.
Did you see that coming though?
I saw that. He was struggling. His hands are tied. He can't really react. He can't beat him. He can't beat a white person.
Yeah.
Once he does that, he gets killed anyway. So why not get out of this world in your own terms and just blow your bloody brains out, which I do not endorse on anyone. This is just more of talking in relation to the show.
I didn't see that coming though. I really didn't.
Did.
I thought he was just going to leave and never come back.
No.
That's just sad.
Yeah. Because he was struggling to even breathe. He was just...
Yeah, I know. He was really
He was reaching...
He was close to having a heart attack.
Yeah, it was really an intense scene and quite disturbing. If you think about the ins and outs of that.
Yeah, and just the way that... Because he was minding his own business for the most part.
Yeah.
It's very sad. Any other moments in the show? Do you feel a bit empty after the movie? Or do all of the good moments outshine that?
All the good moments were in the TV show. The movie was just there as a hot tugger. But yeah,
What if you want something else to be tugged? Can you still watch the movie?
I'd refer you to the third season.
Or you can tune in next week to my new podcast, Daddywood.
Yeah, that. All right.
Goodness me. Yes, so let's capture off and go to For Your Reference. Before we do that, I do want to close off with one of, really, to be honest, I would love, I'm sure a quote book of Al Swearengen's quotes of the show exists. And if it does, I would love that. I'm looking at you for Christmas time, OT, because he has so many profound, poetic, hilarious, debaucherous things, one-liners that he says on the show. But I do want to close off with this one because this really caught my attention. An opinion solicited does not equal one freely voiced.
Oh, that's deep.
Yeah, it's got a firm foundation, doesn't it? We can't be serious for too long. So let's capture off with For Your Reference.
And I would recommend Justified just because Timothy Oliphant is kick-ass in that. It's a story about a sheriff. What do you mean, boo? Justified is amazing.
I think that was the universe whispering to you.
Anyway, if you've not watched Justified, just give it a go. Timothy Oliphant is great in it. You can see more dimensions to him than you did in Justified, and you'll appreciate him as an actor. What would you recommend?
Oh, why, thank you. How courteous of you, sir. I would recommend, to be honest, I really don't know much about the country western genre. So I'm going to go off on the tangent of if you really enjoy well-written shows that have setups and astounding payoffs, The Wire, which is also HBO.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Absolutely amazing. So The Wire is always something that people talk about as the greatest show. That and Breaking Bad. There's even a Family Guy cutaway. It's like, that's literally all people talk about. So Justified and The Wire. So thanks so much for joining us. I think this is probably the longest episode we've done, right?
I think so.
I think it has. So congratulations, guys. We've hit a milestone together. Thank you so much. We're very active on Twitter, but as evident in this episode, OT is to keep away from But on Twitter, Instagram, and we're trying to be more active on Facebook, it's For Your F Pod.
And if you want to write us an email just to see how we're doing, it's hello@fypodcast.com.
And if you love us enough, please give us a review and a rating on our iTunes. Thanks, guys.
See ya.
Love you, cocksuckers.